computer. So again, good morning, everybody. We're continuing with lesson 6. And at the moment, we're going to finish up the header. We're going to add a second background image. And to do that, you need to code it yourself, which is sort of minimal, but I'll show you how to do that. Well, and then we're going to add to that semantic content to the rest. So we'll you can't really see the bottom of the divs that we made right now, that structure, but they're there. But we will go ahead and we will add that. We'll add that for the asides and for the main content. And so we're ready to, we'll have our basic template ready to go. So what we're doing right now, you'll see that we have one background image. We have that fern, but we want to add a second background image. And you can't do that through the, even when I have all selected here, and I select, let's just select the header row. If I go to select background, I can have a background color and a background image, and that's where the fern is here. But you can't add from here a second image. So where we're going to add it is not in the HTML, but in the CSS. So you'll see along the top here, since I've saved my external style sheet as green style CSS, when I click on that, notice down at the bottom now in the code view, this is the CSS that style sheet that's being added for us. So what we want to do is we want to scroll down, and you can see how it's added it in the order that we added the styles. At the very bottom, we have header.row, and you can see that we have padding. And here's the first background image. Here's that fern. We want to add a second one to it now, and also notice that when you hover over it, okay, you can see the image. And this would be a good reason why you would, you know, if you want to add images to your website like this, and they need to be silhouetted, so to speak. The first assignment that we did, optimized for web, this would be reason for a ping file, that why you couldn't use a JPEG, that you get a nice clean outline of the image, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this whole URL. And this is a little bit different than the book, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit comma to separate it, and then I'm going to paste it. Now, I don't want a second image of that, but I do want it, it's located in the same image folder. And I don't want fern, I want it to be the stripe. Oops, make sure that I spell it right. The stripe ping. Okay, should be stripe, not stripes. Okay, so no, it is images, it is stripe. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now it should pop up here, and it's not. So hopefully I have everything spelled right, and I'm ready to go, and we'll find out in a minute. So the next thing that we have to make changes to all these other things. For our background image, we wanted it no repeat. But for the next one, we want it to be repeat. Okay. We want it to be repeat along the x-axis. So I'll put repeat x. And there you go. There are the stripes that I put in there, that are being applied along the background. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to size it. And again, the first one that we had was auto and then 80% for the width. So now what we're going to do, this one is going to be auto, 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 auto. Okay. So now it fits correctly. It stretches to fit the background. And then the background positioning a little bit, it's sort of one more thing left to do. It's left and top. Make sure that that always fills. So now I make a comma here and I put left top. And there you have it. Now we have the stripes in the background. So that's, and if you wanted additional background images, you could do that as well, and you could position them. But again, it would all have to be done using the CSS style sheet directly in here. That's the only way that you can do it. So one more thing that we have to do for the header is that we're going to add kind of a gold or yellow bar along the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go back to source code along the bottom. Move this down a little bit. I'm going to come up here, and what I want is I want header row selected. And so we're going to add borders to the top and the bottom, and then that's it. And then we'll be done with the header. So I'm going to go ahead and click here along the top. I want the width to be 5 pixels. So make sure that it's in pixels. There we go. Make sure that we have 5. And we'll do the same along the bottom. It just takes me a minute to put that in there. And it's going to be a solid bar. So we want solid, and then the color, they want it to be FD5. So down here, with hexadecimal FD5, FD5. And we already have that gold color there. So I want that along the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that. Let's see, make sure it's the hexadecimal. And I'm going to add that to my colors here. And let's add it there. And you can see it's added along the top right there. So now we want to add one along the bottom. So I do the same thing, select the bottom one. And it all has to be done individually. That's the only way you can do that. You know, but as I said the other day, once you get this all set up, then you're ready to go. Style again is going to be solid. And then the color is this color right here. So there you go. There we have our background. So it starts from, you know, something very simple and generic. And if you want your website simple and generic, then that's what you do. If you want to add, you know, graphics to it, then this is how you have to do it. This is how you have to add background images that are scalable. And to show how they're scalable, again, I can always come back up here and I can change. And you can see how it modifies a little bit. Now, we have an issue with the size of the background text, and as well as the size of our fern. When it gets down to a really small, you know, like an iPhone 4. I don't know if anybody has one of those anymore, but anyway. To get down to one of the smallest screen sizes. So that's where in lesson 7, we're going to add media queries so that when it does scale down to a really small size, that it adapts to that. And likewise, you know, that it scales properly to a small screen as well. So we're good for right now. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to start to build semantic content for the asides and for the main content. So what we want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and just select the left one here. I'm going to do it from over here under main. I'm going to use the DOM. Let me move this over a little bit. And I'm going to select the first aside, and you can see that it's selected here. Otherwise, you can't see it. So you have to use one of these other means of selecting it, which becomes kind of awkward. You could always do it from the code view. That would work too. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add some content to it. So I'm going to click here. And what I want it to do is that I want it to not wrap the aside tag, but I'm just going to go ahead and insert insert child rather. Okay, and I don't want a div. I just want some text here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to even do that. I'm going to go back here and do nothing here. So I'm going to select it again. Let's select the aside. Let me undo that. Let me go back to where I was a couple of times before. I goofed. Okay, so let me go back again. I got to put the bar down below here again. I went a little bit too far. How about Shift Command Z? There we go. So now let's try this again. I'm going to try the aside. And let me go ahead and insert in there. And I'm just going to put it, I'll just do it from in here. I'm going to click in here and put our content. I'm going to say that I'm going to put, because I kind of goofed, so I'm going to do it from the code view. And I'm going to say quotes. I'm going to put insert. Quotation here. That's what they want us to put. Here. Okay. And then I'm going to hit the return key. And it's going to add, I want to make sure that I have a paragraph here. So I'm going to add my P tag manually. And let's put the closing tag. And inside that, I want to put insert author here. Okay, so there, I got those here. Now, quotation, I kind of goofed. This little thing doesn't go right here. This little quote, that gets cut. That gets put right after that. So there we go. Okay, insert quotation here and insert author here. And again, if we go over here and we look at the DOM, okay, we have a paragraph tag here. And we should have had one up here too. So let me go ahead after up here. I'm going to go ahead where it says insert quotation here. I'm going to go ahead and put a paragraph tag there as well, just for the heck of it. Okay, a P tag. And then after it, I'll put a closing tag. Okay, so I have my, this is where, and this applies to asides and it applies to quotations. Again, it's just, you may have quotations in your website, you may not. But if you do have quotations, then there is specific semantic context that you have to use. So what I want to do now is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, with both of these P tags selected. So I hold down the Shift key and I select them both from the DOM because it's easier to select them that way. I can go ahead now and I can click and I want to wrap around the whole thing something called a block quote. So block quote, and that's what I'm going to add right here. Okay, so it's added a block quote. And how do I know that? Because if I'm looking at the split view here, I can see that a block quote was added around the whole thing. So that wraps around both of those paragraphs. So I have my block quote. And now what I want to do is we're going to begin to style it. So what I need to do is I'm going to come over to making sure that I have green style selected here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a selector. Come on, add a selector. And I just need, I'm going to have it row block quote. And I think that should do it. Yeah. Actually, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and instead, to really be specific for this, it's going to be main.row. Okay. And then it's going to be aside, because we want the aside done, A-S-I-D-E, block quote. There we go. So it just targets the aside And within the aside, well, it targets the row. Within the row is the aside, and within the aside is the block quote. So that's the succession of the order there. Okay. So here's the rule that we have. And again, remember the other day when I said when you click on it, when it highlights it in blue, that's a good sign. We're ready to go. So I haven't made any mistakes yet. So now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply the margins and the padding for this, because we want them to be a little bit different. And then in the future, we'll probably add some text indents and that sort of thing to make sure that it all fits. But again, one little element at a time. So for this, we're going to go ahead, and I have to look at the book here to make sure that we have margins 0, 0, 20, and 0. So that's 0, 0, 20, and 0. So we come over here for margins, and we get 0, 0, and then 20 along the bottom, 20 pixels. And that pushes that way down, and then 0. Okay, so that's our margin. And then we have our padding, which is just 0 all the way around. So we'll scroll down for padding, and we can do that in up here and just put 0 pixels. And we're set to go. So we have the first part that we've done. The next thing that we want to do is what we're going to do is we're going to insert a cite tag in the paragraph. Now they have you do it a little bit different to replace the P tag. I'm going to go ahead and in here, okay, because where you have an author, the block quote wraps around the whole thing. But when you insert the name of an author, the proper syntax that you use is a cite tag. So instead of the P tag, I'm going to put cite, C-I-T-E. Why is it called that? Because that's what somebody decided to call it. And it's just, you know, when you're learning English and you're writing English papers and that sort of thing, when do you use capital letters? When do you use periods? When do you use semicolons? All that sort of thing. And you can see, as soon as I added the cite to it, notice that the author italicized. So that's the default setting for that. Okay, and why is that important? It's mostly important for people with disabilities, that to make sure that your website is ADA compliant, that when a reader reads the website to a person who is seeing impaired, that it will use the syntax that has been being placed inside the code now. This is HTML. This is not the CSS that we've applied to styling this yet. They will be able to understand what's going on here. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to apply a rule for our block quote here. So we're going to go ahead and main row side block quote P. So the paragraph tag within a block quote will be styled a certain way. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new one here. Let's go ahead and select this one. That's the P tag. So we'll just go ahead and add that. So again, instead of column 4 small, I'm going to put main dot row aside block quote P. So it's basically taking what we did here and refining it a little bit. And again, you can see that, since I've no typos today so far, that, when I click on it, good sign that it highlights in blue. So now we can apply the appropriate margins, padding, and text indent. We want it to be a negative, so we're going to put minus M in there. So again, for the margins, they want 0, 0, and 5 at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and here 0, 0, and 5 pixels at the bottom. And then we want 0 here to the left. So that's for the margin. Then what we want to do for the padding is 0.5 so, or 0.5 m, so that would be the top and the bottom. So that's margins. We need to come down here. Remember, we're going to use the shorthand. And if you do that, it applies, because we start at the top and work clockwise around, that if I put 0 pixels here, this will apply to both the top and the bottom. And then to the right, this is going to be, so make sure that I have that. Yeah, 0.5 m. 0.5. So this will be to the left and to the right. There we go. So we have top and bottom, left and right. And that, I use the shorthand method for doing that. We can put it in there manually, but sometimes it's easier. Also notice with the block quote too, that by default, we have a left bar over here, a little gray bar. And that can be, the color of that can be changed and the width and that sort of thing if you want. And then the last thing is the text indent. So I need to come over to text, and we're going to use the indent here, if I can find it, text indent, right there, with all of these. The text, you know, all of this text on my computer is really small too, and it's hard for me to see. So I don't want it in pixels. I want this to be in M's. So it's going to be -1 M. There we go. And notice how the quote hangs over a little bit. Okay. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to, let's see. This doesn't look quite right, but I'm going to go with it for right now. Is that we want to, for the site, we want to create one for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create a rule for that. So with the site selected, we'll go ahead and click plus. And we're going to add one for that. So I'm going to go back here. And again, it's main.row aside block quote site. Okay. So the way that we want this to be displayed is we're going to use block. And so if I come back in here and display, hold on here. Let's go to type. And I want display. Where are we? Maybe it's not. How about here? No, sorry, it was under the other. So under display, I want block. There we go. For the quote. And then the padding, again, it's just going through this, the same motions in many respects. Padding, we're going to use shorthand. We want 0 top, 0 bottom, and to the left and to the right, we want 10 pixels. So 0 pixels, space, 10 pixels. There we go. Okay. So we've got the padding done. Font style, make sure that we apply italic to it, which it already has, but we're going to apply it anyway. And then we want to make sure that it's aligned to the right. So font style, apply italic. There we go. And then alignment, we're going to make sure that it's along the right. And there we go. It aligns along the right. So just getting all the styling done for all of this. And that's about it. So we've got pretty much have our block quote styled. And now we're going to create a new rule for the aside itself because we want to put little bars along the top and the bottom. But now we want it to affect both the top, to affect both of these. So we're going to, again, make sure that we use the aside to do this. So we want main row dot aside, and we don't need block quote for that. So we're going to click the aside in here if we want. We can select it from over here just to make sure that we have that selected. And now I can go ahead and add a new rule. We want main row dot row aside. And hit the return key. There we go. So now this will not only affect this one, but you can barely see it. When you do it yourself, there'll be a subtle little blue line down here to the right that it will be affecting both of these. So we're creating rules that affect both sides, and then we're also creating rules that isolate. We can affect just one or the other, separate from the others. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get that, and now I need to go again. So we're going to change the top here. So for the rule lines, we're going to go ahead and we want the top along here. And we want the width to be one, what do we want? Border along the top, we want 5 pixels. Okay, so along the top, the width is 5 pixels. The style is solid. And the color is 069. So I'm going to put that in here since I don't remember. I probably already put it in here, but just to make sure. There we go. That's the dark one here. But I'll go ahead and I'll add it anyway. So it's already been added. So make sure that that's done. There we go. And you can see along the top here, it's been added to both sides. And now we want one along the bottom as well. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go along to the bottom for both of these. And again, this is just for styling. So now we want border of the bottom, and we're going to use something a little bit thinner. We're going to use 3 pixels. So we'll use the width, again, in pixels. We want it to be 3, not 5. And we want it to be solid. And we want the color to be the same, I believe, 069, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go back in here. And it is, which one of these did I use? Is it this one? Must be. That's it. And there we go. Now you can see it along the left. The right you can't until we add content, so that those two lines are collapsed. Now something is a little bit goofy with my my block quote. That bar along the left should reside outside here or be non-existent pretty much. So what it might be is that if I go back and I look at the block quote, let's look at the left side here. And if we want none, I could go ahead and I can add something, I suppose. Let me try just for the heck of it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm curious to know. I'm going to make this in pixels. And I'm going to make it maybe 2 pixels just for the heck of it. I want to see what it does. 2 pixels. And I'm going to make it solid. And the color, just for the heck of it, I'm going to make it kind of gray. So, you know, gray in here. Let's go ahead and see what we have. Okay. And see what we have. And it's there, but it's in the wrong location. It should, because the insert quote here is hanging out a little bit farther than what it should be. So maybe the aside block quote, that when we look at the text, and maybe I put it in wrong. It's possible. I said it was supposed to be negative. Hold on here. I want text. There we go. The P tag, that's what we had it. And it should be, I thought I put minus in here. I thought I put negative. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, negative 1m. So maybe that's too far. So instead of 1, I'll put 0.5m just for the heck of it, see what happens. And that looks a little bit better. So that's working. Maybe I shouldn't have used 1m. Then I can come back, and if I want this bold line to look a little bit stronger, I can. I kind of like it a little stronger quote. So I'm going to go back to the main block quote. And I'm going to come back under here, and instead of 2 pixels, I'm going to make it maybe 4. Really something really bold. There you go. Anyway, that's how you have to change all of those. Okay. So let's make sure that everything is saved. I'm going to go ahead and say File, Save All. And when I say Save All, it also saves the CSS as well. So now what we need to do is we need to place some headers inside our main content and create placeholders for those. So I think I have everything ready to go. So we want to make sure that we have over here in our DOM, that's one place to do it. If I click in here, I can come down here and I have the main dot row, and I want maybe the main article selected. Okay. And it's not, I have the main row selected, but the article isn't selecting. I want the main one in the middle. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select the article from here. And there we go. So that's selected in the middle now. And that's where we want to add content from here. So in here, I can go ahead and I can add a paragraph, or I can add an H1. And maybe that would be probably the best thing to do here. I can go ahead and I can click a little plus here. And I want to go ahead and insert a child. And I don't want a div. I'm just going to put, they want it to be an H1 tag. So I'll put H1 tag. And there you go. There's our H1 tag that's been inserted inside the article. And then if I click in here and it turns to the orange box, now I can go ahead and I can change that placeholder tag and put insert main heading here. And you'll notice that that the columns are the same width at the moment. Well, and pretty soon we're gonna change that when we switch to lesson 7. Then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hit the return key. And notice that by doing that, it automatically added a brand new paragraph. So I'm gonna go ahead and say insert subheading here. So I'm gonna do that actually from the code view. That will probably make it a little bit easier. So I'll put in insert subheading here. Okay, and then I can do that again. We're going to add content here. So again, and I can either do that or I can do it from here. So by just clicking there right after here and hitting the return key, it automatically adds another paragraph. So now I'll go ahead and we'll say insert content here. There. So we really kind of set it up for our main content. And the subheading, I can change that from a paragraph. Let's do that. Instead of a paragraph, I'm going to make it an H2 tag. And remember the heading tags, again, are an important part of HTML syntax. H1 through H6, and then a paragraph. And then again, a lot of that has to do with readers, for people with disabilities. That H1 denotes something that's the most important on the page, and H2 is something lesser and lesser, and then generally paragraph tags are reserved for just the main meat of a story, and that's it. So what I can do here with the P tag selected, if I want to change it, I could do it from the code view, or I can hit Command T, and instead of P, I can put H2, okay? And there's our H2 tag. So we've got that set up pretty nicely. Now the question is, are we going to style it yet or no? We're going to style the right aside now. So we're going to create a custom class that makes the one to the right a little bit different. Okay. So I may have goofed over here because there should be a little bit of a gap between these two. So we'll find out in a minute, and I might have to come back and correct it. But anyway, what we want to do over here is I'm going to create something called just Sidebar 2, and that's it. Okay. So we can go back over here, and that's the aside that's selected, but we can create a brand new selector down here. Okay. And I don't want that there. Yeah, I guess it'll be okay. And I'll just name it .sidebar2. So that's a custom class. 2. Okay. And now what we want to do with Sidebar 2 is we're going to change the background color and the padding a little bit. So I'm going to select, with that selected, and it's kind of hard to tell since it's all collapsed whether I'm doing this right or not. But what I can do now is background color. I'll select the color, and they want CFC for this. So that's the color that we're going to use for this. Make sure that I have hexadecimal, CFC. CFC. It's that kind of a lime green here. There we go. And again, you don't see a thing. But now when we change the padding, we should be able to see that. So let's go back over here. Let's scroll down for the padding. And we're just going to use shorthand. So at the top, 0, the bottom, 0, and the sides are going to be 10 pixels. So let's see what we get here and see if I get this right. So we want 0 pixels and 10 pixels. And I clearly have done something wrong. I'm missing something over here because we should see a little bit of a gap over here to the right. So it was probably when I was assigning to the original. Remember, I said, you know, that you should probably stop when you find something wrong. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to make sure that I go back over to the aside, the first aside that I created. Not for the block quote, but for, and maybe that's where I goofed. I should have created one specifically for the aside itself. So let's make sure that I have. There's a sidebar H2. I just need one for sidebar, and that's it. No, maybe, yeah, that shouldn't be that. I don't have an H2 in the sidebar. So maybe that was wrong. That was where I went wrong here. I wasn't paying attention. So let's look at the top. And that's not, I don't know why I made a sidebar for H2. Hold on here. Let me pause my recording for a second and see. I got a question here first. Doing the lesson as we go, but one step says to use the property inspector menu. all the way down at the bottom. Yeah, you can do that if you want. The property inspector is down here. It's these to select. But you can do it either, three different ways. You can either use the property inspector down here, you can use the DOM, or you can click directly in it, or you can just click in the code view, whichever works best for you. So sometimes I deviate, from the lesson just a little bit. Just, try to not to be smart or to do anything clever, but do something that I think that works a little bit easier. So I think where I goofed, let me see what we have here. That's sidebar 2, and we don't have that. So I'm doing a little bit of search here to try to find my sidebar here that I goofed up. So that might be this. So let me rename this, because we don't have an H2 in the sidebar. But where did I put the aside? Because I do, well, let me just click inside here. Maybe I added it to the wrong, I probably did. I added it to the wrong, that could be header, white, row, sidebar. Let's look at this. This should be to the whole in the bottom. No, I didn't do that. But I added it somewhere. So where did I add it? So with the whole aside, that one is selected. I added it to the wrong place. And that's where it can really goof you up. Yeah, see, it's only applied to that. But I'm looking for where I added header, main, sidebar, main. I only have one for the aside. There's green styles. So let's go back. Make sure that I have everything right. There's the nav, row, header, main, sidebar, main row, aside, block quote. Maybe I added it. Did I add it there? It shouldn't be there. If it is. Well, let me go back here and see if I do that. Might be easier if I just remove that and see what happens. So that aside got removed, nothing happened. But it's being applied somewhere, and I don't know where. Main row aside. How about under the P tag? On the bottom. No. There it is. Main row aside. So that's where I added it. So it was main row aside. So let's see why that isn't working. So I need to go back and I'm going to check again, make sure that I have everything done here. So I nested all that correctly, I thought. Make sure that I have display correctly for it all. I have main row aside. That's what I wanted. So let me check again, make sure. So margin, I need to check the margins and I need to check the padding. So let's check that. Let's go ahead and go in here. So let me go back in here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm still recording good. Okay. So I'm going to go back in here and let's go back and check the padding. And maybe that's it. Maybe for that, I didn't do it. I didn't do the margin because the margin should be 1em. I thought I had done that. So I have 1em and 0 pixels. So 1em and 0 pixels. There we go. That affected that. Now the padding should affect the other side. So I thought I had done that, but I guess I didn't. So let's go back, and I want 1em, top and bottom, 1em, and 0 pixels. That's where I goofed up. That's where it gets affected. There you go. That's why there was no gap to the right, because I thought I had added margins and the padding, and I guess I had not. So that's what we have here. So I pretty much corrected that, and we're set to go. Now I need to come back again, and we're going to put the background color inside there. And then before you know it, we should have everything just about done here. So I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to add to that. We want to create sidebar 2 again. Make sure that I don't know if I have that anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So this will be a new selector. It will be sidebar 2. Okay, so now I can go ahead with the background color and add the background color. And here's that lime green. Now you'll see it. Come on. This one needs to be named sidebar 2. So notice here in sidebar, I don't have anything named. So if I click the little plus sign here, I can add the class that I created. So this is dot sidebar 2. Now it works. So this particular aside had to be named separately from this one in order for this to work. Now I was able to add the custom class dot sidebar 2 and have it affect it. So now this particular one affects just this one. The main dot row aside affects both. And then the other one that I created for the block quote only affects the left side or anything with a block quote in it. So we're pretty much ready to go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new selector for, we want sidebar 2 H2. So we're going to go ahead inside here. I'm going to go ahead and create another one here. And it's going to be dot sidebar 2 H2. So if we put an H2 tag in there, no, come on, where is it? I didn't do it. Let's do that again. And that's, I know, I put a space between that and 2, and you're not supposed to. So that's why it didn't take. So dot sidebar 2. I just get in the habit of putting spaces, and I shouldn't. H2. There you go. Now it works. So now what I'm going to do is, again, we need to deal with we just go through this routine. We go through here with the layout, and we want to adjust the margins. So along the top, we're going to have 10 pixels. And then along the bottom, we're going to have 5 pixels. And then we're going to have padding 0 and 10. So padding, we'll have just use the shorthand 0 pixels and 10 pixel. There we go. You don't see anything yet because we haven't added anything yet. And then we're going to use the font size 130. So for this text, the font size is going to be 130%. So I'm kind of setting this up ahead of time before we've even added anything. And then for the line height, I want 1.4 ems. That's going to be in ems. And I want 1.4. 1.4. Okie doke. So now if I come in here, and you can see right now that I have the aside selected, or if you want to do that with the bottom selector down here, or if you want to do it with a DOM, it doesn't make any difference. But I can go inside to the cursor now. And again, it's a little bit different than the book is doing, but I'm going to put in an H2 tag. H2, and we'll put in there. There's the closing tag, and then inside it, since we've already created the style for that, it should work just fine. And I can put insert sidebar heading here. And there you go. Okay. And then if I click in here, and if I want a paragraph in here, and if we want to style a paragraph, then that's what we're going to do next. But to add the paragraph, if I just click here and I hit return, if I look down here in the code view, it automatically adds a paragraph. Notice that it adds the no breaking space. I get rid of that. I'll leave it for the moment, or I can type it in. I'll put insert sidebar content here. There you go. Okay, now we need to style that. So with that selected, we'll go ahead and I'm going to create another one. And this one is going to be sidebar 2. P tag. Hit the return key a couple of times. And now we can assign the to that. So in this one, we want margin on the bottom, 5 pixels. So we just put along the bottom, 5 pixels. And we want the padding 0 and 10. So I'm going to use the shorthand. That means 0 top, 0 bottom, 10 left, 10 right. Because you notice, and this is, notice how the text automatically bumps right up against the edge of the div. So by adding padding, it pushes it in a little bit and make it work a little bit so that when the viewer's eye, tries to read the content, that it has that negative space to flow around. So again, I'm going to use for padding 0 top and bottom, 0 pixels. But then along the side, we're going to use 10 pixels, which is pretty good. See how it pushed it in just a little bit? And if 10 isn't enough for you, I like 20 sometimes. I like a fair amount of negative space around there. So pretty much, we have almost done, but we're going to change this a little bit now. So now we're going to manage the Bootstrap widths a little bit, because you'll notice that the widths of the columns are the same. They're 4, 4, and 4. How am I doing on time? Let's do this, and then we'll on Tuesday we'll finish the last part of this up. Or if you can do it on your own, you can. It's just a matter of adding the footer. But for right now, if I come back in here and let's just select the aside. You can see right now it says column, medium, or small. It's 4. Well, we want to change this. Remember that these 3 columns have to add up to 12 units. So if I change this to 3, it's going to push everything over a little bit. If I make this one 3, that's fine, but then I can make this one 6. So as long as they add up to 12, I'm good to go. So I'll change this one here and here to 3. There you go. Let's go over here and let's change this one. So I'm going to add that one. So I'm going to change that side. And I'm going to change this one to 3. So I'm just using the DOM to select it. And again, whichever works for you is fine by me. So that changes that. Now I can change the main one here. So let's change the article. And instead of 4, this can be 6. What did I just do? Let me undo. I don't want the aside. I want the main. Not there. I don't want the main. Well, this is going to be it for today because there we go. Let's bring this back. I want article. Come on. It'll be 6. There we go. So now it's working the way it's supposed to. Ta-da. Make sure that everything is saved. File, save all. You guys have time to do the footer? And then we're done? Yes? No? Spend a little bit of extra time? If you don't, let me know, and I can finish it up on Tuesday. So let's just finish it up. Let's go ahead and add one for the footer. So we're going to add, and that's down here, we can see. So this is already, we have one for the footer, so we just want to style it. And then we're done. So let's go ahead and let's select, let's go ahead and add a new one here. And we're going to add footer. Okie doke. Now with that selected, and again, I click on it, it's blue, I'm in good shape. Padding, we're going to go ahead and add here. Just a little bit of padding. So we're going to use the shorthand 1M and 0 pixels. So 1M. And 0 pixels. There we go. So that beefs that up a little bit. Background color is going to be 090. So let's select the background, add here. 090. So that's that green we've already used. Okay, so now we've got the background. And then the color for the text is going to be FFC. It's the same one that we used at the top. So if we click in here and we click for the text, it's going to be FFC. It's that light yellow color. And now if we come in here, okay, and within that footer, if we put a paragraph tag, so I can either do that from the code view, which I find to be a little bit more convenient, or if we go inside the footer here, remember you can do it from, you can add it from here. I can click on this and I can insert child, which is what I want. I don't want a div. I want a paragraph tag. So sometimes it's just easier to do it from, you know, the code view, but you'll notice that I have this in here now. And we can just, you know, place whatever we want in here. And we have a placeholder that they want us to put in here, which is, it's the copyright. And I forget the code for that. So we need to put that in, but it will be Meridian green start. All rights reserved. (2020). Okay. Now we have to go back and put in the little copyright symbol. So we'll leave that to you to do. If you go all the way back to the HTML that we did, I don't forget what page number, you can put that in there. And we are done. This is pretty much, this is lesson 6. Save all. You guys have any questions? This is the, for styling. Yeah, Dan, you have a question? Hold on. Let me allow you to talk. Yeah, Dan.
Like in, I know we're on 6, but like in lesson 5, when it talks about the column SM12 or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Mine defaults to XL4. Like when I would do the project, it would always default to XL4. And I mean, I was manually changing it, but I'm not sure what I did to make it do that.
Well, I got you. Let me select new. And so we want a new document, HTML, Bootstrap, and we're going to create new. And then if I look at custom, if I click on that, it should say 12 columns, grid system, with the 30 pixel gutter.
Okay.
And then these are the default green or default screen sizes that it will create the media queries for.
I think one of the things is because I'm using the latest Dreamweaver. And
this is the latest one. It should be. Yeah, go ahead.
Because when I do new and customize, there's it shows the grid system, the gutter system, but there's 4 things at the bottom now. There's a screen, there's a little box for small, medium, large, extra large.
As far as I know, I'm using, let me see about Dreamweaver, see what I'm using. I'm using the 20.2 version.
Yeah, let me see
so
what I have.
I'm not, so.
Oh yeah, mine says 20.2 as well. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, let me go back to new again. And you're not working with starter template, you're going with new document.
Yeah, I'm just doing create new, and I made sure to uncheck include a pre-built layout, and then I just go to customize. And when I do that, it has the grid system, and then it also has screen, and there's 4 little thingies there. And for small, it's like 576 pixels. medium, it's 768 pixels. Large, it's 992.
I don't know why it's different from mine. We have the same thing going here.
It's always something.
Okay. Hold on one second, Dan. Someone was, anonymous person was looking for the copyright symbol, and I'll give you the code in just a minute. If we can hold on a second here. I'll tell you what page to find it on, because it's in chapter 2. And it is located on copyright is ampersand. So if you want to add a copyright, this is how you do it. So I'll come back to you, Dan. Hold on one second. So if you want it in the code view, so make sure that I have, where is it? Well, I gotta move this up here. There we go. Okay. So I want to make sure that I'm in split view. And then right before meridian in the code view. So let's click here. Right before meridian. I should probably have this memorized, but I don't. You want ampersand, copy, and then semicolon. And that's where the copyright symbol comes from. Now there might be some place in here to insert, insert an HTML thing. And maybe it has one for copyright symbol or something like that. I've never, I don't have to deal with it that often. It's usually once I have it, it's kind of copy paste and I just kind of forget it. Anyway, that's where that's found. Did you get that? Okay. Okay, so back to you, Dan. Where the heck would that be? If I go to File, New, File, New, New Document.
You click on Bootstrap.
Yeah, no, I've got that. Create New, deselect, include pre-built layout, customize, and that's what I get. Grid system and screen. You see what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I see what you see. Yeah. I have an extra one.
Okay. So I think I'm up to date.
I could send you a screenshot of it.
Okay. And over the weekend, I'll look for it and see if I can't find it. Okay. Well, I don't know what to say. It's one of those things, it's the little things with web design are what really mess you up. They really do. Well, it's kind of like with 3D modeling too. Like with my my gallery, I'm sure there's just one thing or a couple of little things that I don't know about that are messing me up. So
I'm going to send you the email right now, actually.
Okay.
Let's see.
Does anybody else have a question before we end today? Because this is pretty much it for lesson 6. And in lesson 7, we're going to create media queries so that as you scale this down to a smaller screen size, that it decidedly looks a little bit different and adapts appropriately to the size of screen. And then in lesson 8, or actually when lesson 7 is done, then we're going to focus on publishing it, and I'll show you how to do that. And then that will be your first, well, the second grade that you'll get. And then a little bit after that, probably your Wix website will be due. And I hope everybody's been working on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dan, yours is done, so unless you're building a new one.
Well, I've been following the lesson in the book, and
Yeah.
I've kind of run into some quirky things from the book, as like that Excel thing I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And after I save, all my little guidelines disappear, and it just kind of goes to.
Well, that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will happen. And that's why you need to use the DOM to select the divs that you want, because that's the quirkiness of web design.
I guess what happens is when I hit save, that stuff at the bottom disappears. So I'm not sure how to re-edit the document. Oh wait, maybe I just solved my own problem. Never mind. Well, my guidelines disappear, and I'm in split mode. My guidelines disappear, and I can see the text and stuff where it says like content goes here, but
Right.
I don't have my guidelines again. I don't know how to get those back.
It might be just the quirkiness of web design. You don't see those guidelines, and so you need to either select from the tag selector below. You need to select from the code or the DOM, one of those 3 locations, because they just, if there's no content in something, it just disappears. I mean, it's there, but you don't see it.
Did you get my email?
I haven't checked. I'm gonna, before we go, if everybody else is done, if you want to leave, you can. It's getting kind of late. It's hour 20, and I'm gonna say goodbye. And then I'm gonna stop recording, but I will stick around. But I'm just gonna stop recording for right now. Okay, so have a good weekend. Finish up lesson 6. We'll work on finishing your Wix website, and we will continue with lesson 7 on Tuesday. Okay? Okay. Bye-bye for now.